Hey guys, and welcome to a long-awaited update. I know I've been absent for a while. I put up a video a couple days ago, which was the creation of the general rotation. Ran it by accident. But yeah, that's what I've been up to lately. Is I've just been working on some stuff on my computer, and I've actually got some news that might yield us some results later on, depending on how much time I put into this, which I'm going to try and put a lot into. So, what's happening right now at the moment is I'm still working for Bardell Entertainment. And at the moment, I am also working on the pitch for the Jesse Gill story so that I can send it to the executives at Bardell so that they can take a look at my show and see if they want to possibly fund it or do something with it, create a pilot, something along those lines. So right at the moment, I am working on the Jesse Gill story pitch booklet. So I'm creating full rotations of characters. I am working on doing some backgrounds. I just got done doing like a never-ending background type thing where it can loop forever. So if we have a walk cycle, we can have it loop for a really long time, and it'll look good. So right now, I've been doing some work on that. Just some background stuff. Really been working on the pitch. The character stuff, like the character details and stuff like that. So I've really been working on those things. Is what I've been doing in most of my time now. I used to be playing a lot of Overwatch. Like I was almost diamond in Overwatch. I've just been doing a lot of stuff that isn't really related to my show or anything like that. And then I had a meeting with the guy who hired me at Bardell, and they were asking me to switch projects, to not be working on Rick and Morty anymore, to be working on something else for a little bit. And I totally agreed, and I asked him, I was like, is there any way I could possibly pitch my show to the people at Bardell? And he's like, yeah, you can do that. It'd have to go to our I forget the person's name, what their title is, but he said either way, if you send it to me, I'll send it to them, and then we'll take a look at it. So that's what I'm doing right now. Is I'm just finalizing a lot of stuff, making it look professional, because it has to look up to par for them to even consider it. Like it has to look like a real pitch booklet, like somebody would give to an executive that's gonna be doling out millions of dollars to fund a TV show. So I'm going to be putting my absolute best effort into this pitch booklet to make sure that I have the best chance of getting this to work, because in all honesty, I want it to be a Netflix exclusive. Like I want it to be just on Netflix, because that is the way entertainment is going. It's the most profitable way of entertainment nowadays, is to go on Netflix, because Netflix is just so profitable, and they tend to let creators do what they want. It would probably be in the show's best interest to run on a Netflix type platform. So it's only going to be on Netflix, and people who complain that it's going to be on Netflix, honestly, Netflix isn't that big of a deal. If you can't afford $8.99 a month or $7.99 a month, then honestly, I'm sorry to hear that. That's pretty shitty if you can't afford $8.99 a month for entertainment. But yeah, that's my final decision. No more questions about, is it going to air on Cartoon Network, or is it going to air on whatever? The answer is maybe. I don't know. Netflix is going to be our primary target at the moment, and that's the only target I have right now. If Cartoon Network and them want to be a part of it, that's fine, but I do not want them changing any parts of the story or any of that, because whenever they change something, whenever they have a say-so in the development, everything just goes bad. And that's the problem with television nowadays, is executives some executives just don't know what people want. And that's actually what I've been studying a lot, is what people find great about certain TV shows. And through all my research, is they like it when shows take risks. They do things that are abnormal for a kid's show. They treat the audience as if they're real people, not just children. They cater to the adults and everybody in between to a child. They treat the audience like they're real people, and they give them real problems to face with. And that's something I think I've done really well with the Jesse Gill story, is creating real problems and real type things, because that's what people like to see. Like Steven Universe, I've made this show an example before, but a lot of people say with Steven Universe is the greatest thing is they don't treat their audience like children. There is a lot of adult themes in there, things you can actually glean real life information from. So that's what I wanted to do with the Jesse Gill story, was create this show that not only makes you laugh, makes you inspired, gets you hyped up, but it teaches you a valuable lesson at the very end of it. And I think it's something I preached before, so I'm not going to go into it that much. But that's something I really, really considered when creating the Jesse Gill story. I've actually rewritten a couple the ending of season 2 of the Jesse Gill story to directly sort of hit a certain note. There is a certain villain that Jesse Gill goes up against in season 2, and this character, they go through a very personal experience with Jesse Gill. So when he ultimately, at the end of the day, at the finale of season 2 and everything is said and done, he goes up to this villain and he's like, "Hey, it's over. We're done fighting. This is the end. I've come to apologize for how I behaved." And it's sort of this big part in his character, actually, because throughout season 2 you will see a totally different Jesse Gill than in season 1. Season 1 Jesse Gill is way different from season 2 Jesse Gill. So at the very end of season 2, when you actually see Jesse Gill do this, you're like, whoa, like, this is actually something big. Something has changed after this finale in Jesse Gill that makes him a better person. And it's, honestly, it's something really big with character development, and something that I really wanted to get across was major character development, and it has to come through Jesse Gill, because Jesse Gill is the main character and driving force of the show. So to have his character development be the primary focus is probably the best part about it. Because when you look at comics like The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman, he put a lot of emphasis on character development, and that's why people love it so much. They love the characters. And the thing with Jesse Gill is a lot of people are gonna love. They're gonna like to love Jesse Gill. That's the thing. That's the main part of the show, is people have to like the protagonist. So the way I've designed Jesse Gill is in this way where he can be liked by a lot of people, no matter who you are, and he displays a lot of different viewpoints. And something that really came in that I really started noticing about Jesse Gill myself was when I was writing him in season 1. I wrote him as a very left, like in the political spectrum, he's very left in season 1. And in season 2, he's very right. So he's very, in season 1, he's more so a left kind of political person, He likes to make sure everybody's okay, we work together, he likes this, the left part of the political spectrum more. Whereas in season 2, he goes to the far right, very extreme right, I may add, where he's very much for himself. He's very secluded in his behavior. It's all about him, and then when it's done benefiting him, then he worries about others. And he goes from these two different spectrums, and then at the very end of season 2, we see him find that middle spot between the two, which is actually the real him. So it's really cool to see this progression. Once you guys see it, you'll understand. But that's one thing I wanted to drill home with Jesse Gill was, he's this character that is changing throughout the entire story. And one thing I finally, the one thing I've done is I finally nailed down the chronology of the Jesse Gill story in relation to Total Drama. The Jesse Gill story takes place the summer, or the school year leading up to the summer break that is Total Drama Island, because Total Drama Island takes place during summer break, which is 2 months of the year. There's no school, and that's when Total Drama Island is supposed to take place, because it says in that they spend their summer on Total Drama Island, which is 2 months. I think in total 2 months. So the Jesse Gill story takes place during the school year leading up to the summer break. That's where Total Drama Island takes place. And I've actually been doing a lot of world building. What do you mean by world building? I've been doing a lot of background into all the characters, and figuring out why things are the way they are, and ultimately the greater plot behind the entire show. Which means, like, I've been digging into characters that are working in the background. I've been digging into a lot of different things and a lot of different characters that show up, and having them be vital characters that do show up later and do create a lot of different stories and a lot of different conflicts and all different alliances. And this world building has been one of the major things I've been working on, is because when I read all my world building parts of the Jesse Ghost story, it's very much my favorite part of it is reading, like, when I wrote a character in one episode and they show up later and they have a bigger role in that episode and it's way bigger than you thought. You're like, whoa, I didn't think that character was going to come back, and now they're this huge part of the story. And that's one thing I really wanted to incorporate, was creating these small characters that are memorable, and bringing them back for major roles. And I thought that was great. And also the world building has also helped me develop other things, such as I guess making a lot more sense of why characters do things later on in the future. And that's one thing I struggle with, was there's one character that I have, and this character starts acting a lot more different, and people don't know why. People try and guess why this character is acting different. They don't understand. It seems very left field. The audience is going to think it's a cop-out. And I was thinking to myself, people are going to think it's a cop-out. I need to fix this. And I need to fix it in a way that has an epic conclusion. And I can't just let this be some stupid character change for no reason just because this character needs to become evil. I cannot do that. It doesn't make any sense. People are going to call me out and they're going to get pissed off. So what I did was, to fix this problem, I actually start placing hints as to why this character has changed. People who are very, very closely watching will spot when this character changed. They will spot the occurring event that does make this happen. And it's a very, 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 very simple thing. And it's almost unimportant how it happens. You're like, oh, wait, what? That's what happened then? I thought that was just that. Like, what? And it's gonna blow your mind. And then at the very end, and this is leading up to a multi-season conclusion, because this character is gonna start changing. You're not gonna understand why. You're not gonna know why. Not even Jesse Gill's gonna know why. It's gonna plague him for a long time. He's gonna say to himself a lot, like, I don't know why that person changed. I don't understand. I didn't see it coming. It doesn't make any sense. And then later on, in the big epic conclusion, he's gonna finally find out why that character started to change. And he's gonna find it out, and you're gonna be like, whoa, that totally makes sense. And to make that make sense, I had to do a lot of world building, because it's ultimately the huge conclusion of the Jesse Gill story, and Jesse Gill's, I guess, his story. And that was something I really wanted to work on, was this big epic tale that's gonna take a long time to tell, but the payoff for sticking along with it and being along for the ride is gonna be immensely rewarding. And there's a theme that I'm gonna go with that is extremely, and I don't think it's ever been done before, because it's really shied away from this thing I'm using. It's really been shied away from, and most people would consider it not proper, but it's something I want to pull into the light. Not because I want it myself, but because I think it's something that needs to be talked about. And honestly, it has to do with marriage and stuff like that. And this one thing that I managed to bring up is it's controversial in some religions and some countries. It's very controversial, and I wanted to bring this into light and say, this is what this is, and for you to be against it, you're really against this. And I don't think you want to be against that, because some people are all for that, but at the same time, they rule against it. And, I wanted that to be sort of like this eye-opener, like, this big realization of what this big thing is I want to reveal. And that's something I really latched onto. And I guess throughout the entire show, it's supposed to make you think quite a bit. It's supposed to be lots of character development. And that's really what I've been trying to get on this tangent about, was the Jesse Gill story is supposed to be this big thing. It's not supposed to feel like it's wrapped up in one season. It's not supposed to feel like it's been wrapped up in two. It's supposed to feel like there's a big story that we need to hit the end of, and it's not going to feel done until we get there. And the Jesse Gill story, season 1 and 2, are just the prequel to ToeJam Mosquée Island. And the big storyline that leads after Osuke Island is all just this massive, like, the Jesse Gill story doesn't get derailed by Tojomusuke Island. The story continues into it. So Jesse Gill goes to Osuke Island to continue this journey that he's on, and it's just another thing in his path that he has to go through to get where he's trying to go. And I guess at the end of season 2, you'll realize why he goes, obviously, and it like, even that is a big part of the overarching story. Like, he doesn't just go for the sake of going. There's people behind the scenes pulling strings that want him to go there. There's things he has to do. There's people he has to meet. And it has been, like, in their universe, him going to Tojomusuke Island and meeting certain people is part of his destiny. Because there's a huge overarching story that the audience won't even know about until it's been told to them. It's like, hey, this is why this has been happening. That's why this happened. That's who this person is. That's why they're doing this. That's why they showed up just once. And that's why they're so secretive. And I think that's really important, because that's what keeps people interested, is because there's these huge backstories that people don't, that people research in certain shows, like Rick and Morty has tons of theories of gigantic backstories that are happening. Like, some people believe that the Rick and Morty that we're following in season 2 after the Jerry Daycare episode is actually a different Rick and Morty. We're not following the same Rick and Morty we did at the beginning. And some people know that there's this huge overarching backstory. Like, some people are saying that certain characters are going to come back to be bad guys. And, you know, one-off bad guys are going to come back to be huge bad guys. Or they're going to be the main antagonists of the entire series. And, you know, that's something I really want to incorporate. It was so people who are really good at are really, you know, observant to other TV shows can pick out certain things from it and theorize these backstories that I have going on. Because overall, the backstories of the Jesse Gill story are probably the most important ones of the entire series. Because if people can figure those ones out, what happens in Tojomusuke Island and seasons after that will seem a lot more clear. And, you know, I think there's one character I think is my favorite out of all of them. And it's not even Jesse Gill. It's another character that he owes a huge debt to somebody. And to pay off that debt, he has to do a lot of things. It's so many things he has to do. And he has to work from the shadows, and he cannot fail. Like, his objective, he cannot fail. And at one point in the series of the Jesse Gill story and the Total Drama series that I want to tell, he actually fails this task. And he's like, he has this moment where he's like, hundreds of years of planning have been ruined in one day because of my inability to act. And, you know, he has this huge moment where he's like he's really messed up. And he's possibly my favorite character because he does so many remarkable things, and he's ultimately the main puppet master. And seeing him actually fail in this one moment that you guys probably won't consider huge, because the first moment you see him is when he starts telling this grand story about how he's failed. And people are going to wonder in this one shot part where you're going to see this character pop up quite a bit throughout the Jesse Gill story. He's going to pop, I think he pops up once in season 1 and he pops up once in season 2, but you never see his face. But people who are really observant are going to say that's that one guy. That's him right there. That's the back of his head, and that was his shadow in season 1, and that's the back of his head there in this scene. People who are really observant are going to pick that out. And that's the one thing I really want to happen with Jesse Gill stories, to have people looking in deep the Jesse Gill story and, you know, making these theories and trying to figure out who these people are. And I think that's the greatest part about it, is I've done so much world building and I've done so much rewriting and so much story building and so much character development that I really hope that we get this through, because it's a story that's definitely worth telling. And the way I want to tell it is going to, blow your mind. But yeah, so I'm working on the Jesse Ghost Story booklet, and trying to put everything I've just said on paper and in a condensed version so it doesn't have to be a 20-minute long video. And I know definitely moving forward, I'm gonna have to talk to the people who are funding this. I gotta make them. I gotta make them believe that this show is gonna be the greatest, and like not make them believe. I gotta prove that it's gonna be this thing. I have to prove that it's going to be this grand hit, this next big thing in cartoons. Because right now, the people are saying that right now is probably the best age of cartoons right so far, because of shows like Adventure Time and Rick and Morty. There's so many good TV shows that are on right now that are doing so well that it's the resurgence of cartoon and Cartoon Network. And what I want to take that and bring it to the next level, because I think Adventure Time and all these shows are doing so well are coming to an end, and it's time for the next generation of cartoons to pick up where that one left off. And I want the Jesse Ghost Story to be one of the ones that brings it up even further. So to do that, I have worked so hard on it, and I'm really hoping that if I work hard enough on this pitch book, that I can possibly get the funding and the resources we need to make the Jesse Ghost Story, and possibly move on to Total Drama with Sky Island and the seasons I have planned afterward. Western All-Stars, Mega All-Stars, all these great things. So basically that's the update, guys. That's all I've been up to. Still working at Bardell and all that, so it's going great. Also, Movember challenge, looking pretty sick. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'm probably going to release some more videos on character rotation builds. I'm going to start doing rotations for characters in the Jesse Ghost Story, so stay tuned for those. Comment down below what you think about modern cartoons. What do you guys think about the Jesse Ghost Story? Tell me what you're hoping it's like. Ask me questions about it. Tell me anything you think about it so far. But anyways, comment down below all the stuff I ask you to comment down below about. Subscribe. And hopefully you guys are sticking around for more videos. Hopefully I'll be able to release more updates soon, but this is what I've got so far. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time on another Total Drama Sky Island / the Jesse Ghost Story update. And I'll see you later.